The radar screen beeped loudly in the quiet control room. Admiral Frank Miller looked up from his coffee and frowned. The blips on the screen were not supposed to be there. They moved in a pattern that no human ships would use. "What do we have? Johnson?" Admiral Miller asked, walking closer to the main screen. "Sir, we've detected multiple objects entering the solar system near Neptune. They're moving fast and in formation." "Definitely not asteroids," said the young radar operator. Admiral Miller nodded and pressed a button on his command console. "Get me Lisa Brooks from analysis. Now." Within minutes, the face of Lisa Brooks appeared on the screen. Her expression was serious as she looked at the data. "Admiral, these are ships. A lot of ships. And they're not ours," she said, her voice steady despite the news she was delivering. "The formation is too tight, too organized. It's a military formation. An attack formation." Miller felt his heart beat faster, but his face remained calm. "How many?" "At least 200 large vessels, sir, plus smaller craft. They're coming in fast." The admiral turned to his communications officer. "Contact every major government. Code red. We have a first contact situation, potentially hostile." Across the world, leaders gathered in emergency meetings. Some met in person, others joined through secure video links. All faced the same reality. Something from beyond Earth was coming, and it didn't look friendly. President Diane Lewis spoke from Washington. "What do we know about their intentions?" "Nothing concrete yet, Madam President," Miller replied, "but their formation is clearly military. No peaceful research mission would approach like this." "Can we communicate with them?" asked the Chinese premier. Greg Taylor, the lead communications specialist, stepped forward. "We've been broadcasting welcome messages on all frequencies since we detected them. Standard first contact protocol. So far, no response. But we have developed a basic translation matrix based on mathematical principles," he added. "If they respond, we should be able to understand at least the basics." President Lewis looked around the virtual room. "Opinions?" The Russian leader spoke first. "We should power up our defense systems, quietly." "Agreed," said the Indian Prime Minister. "But we should continue trying to communicate." After hours of discussion, they reached a decision. Earth would extend a hand of peace but prepare for war. Admiral Miller drafted a simple message approved by all major nations. "We come in peace if you do. Identify yourselves." Greg Taylor sent the message across all possible frequencies, using multiple methods, radio waves, laser pulses, even simple light patterns. For 3 long days there was no response. The fleet kept coming, now passing the orbit of Uranus. Then on the 4th day a signal came. "We're receiving a response," Taylor announced, his fingers flying across his keyboard. The message was short. The translation matrix struggled, but the meaning was clear enough. "We are the Krivak Dominion. Your solar system is now our territory. Surrender or be eliminated." Silence fell across the command center. No one spoke for several seconds. "Send it to all world leaders," Miller finally said, "and begin full military alert, all forces." Within hours, the Earth Defense Council reconvened. The faces on the screens were grim. "They've made their intentions clear," President Lewis said. "Options?" General Nancy Clark, Earth Defense Force commander, spoke firmly. "We fight. We don't know their technological capabilities, but we've been preparing for this possibility for decades. Our orbital platforms remain hidden. Our lunar bases are ready. Our resources are significant," added Karen Wright, Miller's second-in-command, "but untested against alien technology." President Lewis nodded slowly. "Send them one warning, one chance to turn back." Admiral Miller composed the message himself. "We have observed your approach. This is our home. Withdraw your invasion fleet. Immediately. This is your only warning." The response came quickly this time. The translation wasn't perfect, but the meaning was clear. Laughter, mockery, dismissal of humans as primitive beings who would soon be conquered. "Well," said Miller, looking at the gathered military leaders, "now we know where we stand." President Lewis stood tall. "Begin full military mobilization. Evacuate civilians to the shelters. and may God help us all. As the alien fleet continued its approach, a scientist named Alan Rodriguez noticed something unusual in the energy signatures of the alien ships. It might be nothing, or it might be everything. Admiral Miller stared at the data Alan Rodriguez had sent. The young scientist had found something important in the Krivak ship's energy patterns. "Are you sure about this?" Miller asked over the secure line. "Yes, sir," Rodriguez replied. His voice was tired but excited. "Their shields pulse at regular intervals. For exactly 3.8 seconds, there's a weakness we could exploit." Miller nodded slowly. "Get a team working on this. I want options on my desk in 12 hours. The Admiral then called Commander Karen Wright. Her face appeared on screen, lined with worry, but determined. "Karen, what's our current defense capability?" Wright pulled up a holographic display. "Not as bad as the Krivak think. We've kept our best technology secret for decades. The orbital defense platforms are ready. Our stealth fighters can deploy in 6 hours. The moon base is fully armed. And the Mars colony? Gone dark as ordered. They're preparing backup defenses in case Earth falls." Miller rubbed his tired eyes. "Let's make sure that doesn't happen." In Washington, President Lewis met with her military advisors. The room was tense as General Nancy Clark presented the latest intelligence. The Krivak fleet will reach Earth's orbit in approximately 72 hours. They've already deployed scout ships past Jupiter. "And our warning?" the president asked. "Ignored, ma'am. They've responded with threats and insults." President Lewis stood and walked to the window. Outside, people were being evacuated to underground shelters. The sky was filled with transport ships. "Then we have no choice," she said. "Authorize full military response, but first send one last message. Let history record that we tried peace first." The message was brief. "You were warned. What follows is on your heads." The Krivak responded, with more mockery. Their commander, someone called Vextra, sent a video message. The alien had gray skin, 4 eyes, and spoke with a clicking sound that the translation matrix turned into words. "Your primitive species will make excellent slaves. Those who resist will be food for our young. Your weapons are toys compared to ours." Miles away, in a secret lab beneath the Rocky Mountains, Alan Rodriguez worked with a team of engineers. They built a prototype weapon based on his discovery about the Krivak shields. "If this works," he told Susan White, the lead engineer, "we might have a chance." White nodded as she adjusted the device. "It has to work. My kids are in a shelter in Denver. I promised I'd see them again." At the same time, Captain John Martinez prepared for a dangerous mission. He would lead a small team of stealth ships to get close to the Krivak fleet and gather intelligence. "This is a volunteer mission only," he told his pilots. "Chances of return are less than 40%. Every pilot in the room stepped forward. Martinez smiled grimly. "Let's go show these aliens what humans are made of." As their small ship slipped away from Earth, the planet's defenses continued to prepare. On the moon, missile silos opened silently. In orbit, defense platforms remained powered down, waiting. In shipyards across Earth, engineer Paul Cooper led teams converting civilian ships for battle. "Add the weapon mounts here and here," he instructed, pointing to a passenger liner's hull. "Keep them hidden under these panels." The workers moved quickly, transforming cruise ships and cargo vessels into warships in disguise. In the military headquarters, Olivia Reed finalized her strategy plan. As Earth's top military strategist, she had studied every battle in human history. "The Krivak expect us to be primitive," she explained to the Joint Chiefs. "We'll use that. Our first layer of defense will be outdated weapons, things they'll expect. When they push through easily, they'll grow confident." She clicked to the next slide in her presentation. "That's when we hit them with everything we've actually got." Admiral Miller approved the plan. "Make it happen." Across Earth, humanity prepared for war. Soldiers said goodbye to families. Scientists worked without sleep. Regular citizens volunteered by the millions. As the Krivak fleet crossed the orbit of Mars, Earth fell silent. All broadcasts stopped. All visible defenses seemed to shut down. Why have they gone dark? Asked Vextra from his command ship. His second-in-command laughed. They fear us. They surrender without a fight. Vextra wasn't convinced. No, they're planning something. He turned to his weapons officer. Prepare to fire as soon as we're in range, no mercy. On Earth, Admiral Miller received a message from Martinez's reconnaissance team. Sir, we've got their attack vectors. Sending data now. Miller looked at the information and smiled for the first time in days. Good, very good. Now we know exactly where they'll strike first. The stealth ship moved silently through space. Captain John Martinez watched the Krivak fleet through special sensors. His small craft was nearly invisible, using technology that had been kept secret for decades. Are you getting this? He whispered. Into his communication device, even though the aliens couldn't hear him in space. Receiving clearly, replied Admiral Miller from Earth Command. Your mission is working perfectly, Captain. Martinez's ship moved closer to a large Krivak vessel. The alien ship was massive, at least a mile long, with strange purple lights glowing along its hull. They have no idea we're here, said Lieutenant Eric Peterson, Martinez's sensor officer. Their detection systems aren't scanning for our stealth. Technology, Martinez nodded. Good, let's get closer to their command ship. Back on Earth, Susan White finished the final adjustments to the new weapon based on Rodriguez's discovery. The device wasn't large, about the size of a small car, but it had taken hundreds of engineers working non-stop to build it. Will it work? Asked Commander Wright, who had come to inspect the progress. White wiped sweat from her forehead. In theory, yes. It should create a pulse that matches the frequency of their shield fluctuations. When their shields are down for those 3.8 seconds, our weapons can get through. How many have you made? 50 so far. We're building more as fast as we can. Commander Wright nodded. Get them to the deployment teams immediately. On the moon, silent preparations continued. The lunar base had been officially listed as a research station, but it contained Earth's most powerful weapons. Colonel Bill Foster supervised as missile silos opened. Keep all systems in passive mode, he ordered. No active scanning. We don't want to give away our position yet. His officers worked quickly, readying the massive railguns and plasma launchers that had been built in secret over the past 20 years. Meanwhile, Engineer Paul Cooper led the final modifications on civilian ships. From the outside, they still looked like ordinary transport and cargo vessels. Inside, they had been transformed into warships. The disguise systems are working perfectly, he told his team. The Krivak will think these are just evacuating civilians. Cooper watched as the last weapon mount was hidden beneath a sliding panel on a cruise ship. When activated, the panel would slide back, revealing a powerful laser cannon. Hide in plain sight, he muttered with a small smile. In the main strategy room, Olivia Reed finalized her multi-layered defense plan. Her walls were covered with maps and diagrams. The Krivak expect us to defend Earth directly, she explained to the joint military chiefs. They don't know about our outposts on Europa and Titan. Those bases will remain silent until the second phase of our defense. She pointed to a holographic display showing the solar system. We'll make them think our main forces are concentrated here and here. In reality, those are just decoys. Our real strike will come from these positions. General Nancy Clark nodded in approval. The Krivak are overconfident. They think we're simple primitives. That's their weakness. As the alien fleet passed the orbit of Mars, they encountered no resistance. The red planet was silent, its human colony seemingly abandoned. The humans flee before us, laughed Vextra, the Krivak commander. Their Mars base is empty. His officer checked the sensors again. No signs of human activity on the planet, Commander. They must have retreated to Earth. Vextra nodded. Soon their homeworld will be ours. What the Krivak didn't know was that the Mars colony had moved underground. Deep beneath the surface, 5,000 colonists worked to build more weapons, using the planet's resources. Back on Earth, President Lewis addressed the United Council one final time before the battle. We have always hoped we were not alone in the universe, she said, her voice strong. We hoped first contact would bring friendship and knowledge. Instead, it has brought threats and invasion. But humanity will not bow to tyrants, whether they come from Earth or the stars. The council members stood and applauded. We gave them one warning, the president continued. They chose to ignore it. Now they will learn why that was a mistake. As the Krivak fleet entered the space between Mars and Earth, Captain Martinez's reconnaissance team sent their final data package. They had mapped every ship in the enemy fleet, identified their weapon systems, and confirmed Rodriguez's findings about shield vulnerabilities. Coming home now, Martinez transmitted. Negative, replied Admiral Miller. Stay in position. We need your eyes out there when the battle starts. Martinez took a deep breath. Understood, sir. We'll maintain position. All across Earth, the final preparations were made. People gathered in shelters. Soldiers moved to their posts. In secret bases and hidden platforms, weapons powered up, but remained in stealth mode. The greatest battle in human history was about to begin. The Krivak fleet entered Earth's outer orbit. Their massive ships blocked out the stars as they moved into attack formation. On the command ship, Vextra looked at the blue planet with greedy eyes. Begin the first attack, he ordered. Target their primitive orbital stations, show them our power. 20 Krivak ships broke formation and moved toward Earth's visible defense stations. These were older platforms, mostly used for monitoring space debris and weather. The aliens didn't know these were just decoys. Admiral Miller watched from Earth Command as the alien ships approached. They took the bait, he said to Commander Wright. Are Lieutenant Hughes and her team ready? Yes, sir. They're in position with the new weapons. Miller nodded. Let the Krivak fire first. Let them think they've won easily. The alien ships fired on the orbital stations. Bright purple beams cut through the metal structures, destroying them instantly. Cheers erupted on the Krivak bridge. See how easily their defenses fall. Vextra laughed. These humans are even weaker than we thought. His second-in-command looked concerned. It seems too easy, sir. Why would they put such weak defenses in orbit? Because they are primitive, Vextra snapped. Launch the second wave. As the second wave of Krivak ships moved forward, Captain Martinez watched from his hidden position. They're following the exact pattern we predicted, he transmitted to Earth. Second wave is moving to coordinates Alpha 7. Perfect, replied Miller. He turned to his communications officer. Signal Lieutenant Hughes. Execute Phase 1. Lieutenant. Carol Hughes commanded a small fleet of stealth fighters hidden behind Earth's moon. Each fighter carried one of the special weapons designed by Rodriguez and White. Her hands were steady on the controls as she received the command. All units, power up and move to attack positions, she ordered. Remember your training. Hit them when their shields pulse. 50 small black ships emerged from behind the moon, invisible to standard detection systems. They approached the Krivak second wave from behind. Targeting systems locked, reported Hughes' weapons officer. Shield pulse in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now, all. 50 ships fired at once. Their weapons hit the Krivak vessels at the exact moment their shields weakened. The effects were immediate and devastating. 20 Krivak ships exploded in bright flashes. Others spun out of control, their systems failing. On his command ship, Vextra stared in shock. What happened? How did they do that? His officers scrambled to respond. Unknown weapons fire, sir. We didn't detect any ships. Find them, Vextra screamed. Find those human ships. But the human fighters were already retreating, returning to their hidden positions. They had struck and disappeared before. The Krivak could respond. Admiral Miller allowed himself a small smile. Phase 1 successful. Prepare Phase 2. From Earth's surface, a message was sent to the Krivak fleet. It was Admiral Miller's voice, calm and clear. You were warned. This is what happens when you threaten our home. Vextra slammed his fist on his command console. They tricked us. These are not the primitives we expected. He turned to his war council. Prepare all ships. No more games. We will crush them with our full force. The entire Krivak fleet began to move toward Earth. Over 100 massive warships, all heavily armed, approached the blue planet. In Earth Command, Olivia Reed watched the tactical display. They're committing their entire force, just as we predicted. They're angry now. General Clark nodded. Anger makes for poor strategy. They're bunching up, making themselves vulnerable. Miller looked at the approaching fleet. Begin evacuation of all remaining orbital personnel. Activate the moon-based defenses on my mark. On the moon, Colonel Foster received the command. All weapons online. Target the lead Krivak ships. Massive railguns emerged from the lunar surface, previously hidden under artificial terrain. They aimed at the approaching fleet and fired. Huge metal projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds, smashing into the front line of Krivak ships. At the same time, Paul Cooper's converted civilian ships suddenly changed course. What had appeared to be fleeing transport vessels suddenly turned toward the Krivak fleet. Hidden panels slid open, revealing weapons. All converted ships open fire, Cooper ordered. The Krivak were now under attack from multiple directions. Their neat formation broke apart as they tried to respond to threats coming from the moon, from Earth's surface, and from ships they had thought were harmless. How is this possible? Vexitra demanded. Their weapons should not be able to penetrate. Our shields. His science officer worked frantically at his console. They've somehow detected the pulse pattern in our shield. The sky above Earth burned with explosions as the main battle began. The Krivak launched their full invasion force, hundreds of ships descending toward the planet. Though they had lost many vessels in the first attack, they still greatly outnumbered Earth's defenders. All defense systems active, reported Commander Wright. Our orbital platforms are engaging the enemy. Admiral Miller watched the tactical display with a grim expression. What about our fighter squadrons? Major Sam Bennett has his teams ready to launch. In a hangar beneath the Rocky Mountains, Major Bennett addressed his pilots. Men and women in flight suits stood at attention, their faces determined. Today we fight not just for our country but for our entire species, Bennett said. Remember your training. Use the data from Captain Martinez. Hit their shield pulses. The pilots saluted and ran to their fighters. Sleek black ships with advanced stealth technology, each armed with Rodriguez's special weapons. Eagle Squadron launch, Bennett ordered. Across the planet, similar scenes played out as Earth's hidden forces emerged. From underwater bases, from mountain bunkers, from disguised facilities in deserts and jungles, humanity's defenders rose to meet the invaders. General Nancy Clark coordinated the global defense from her command center. European forces report enemy landings in France and Germany, she told Admiral Miller. Asian command is engaging hostiles over Japan and China. Miller nodded. And the major cities? New York was hit hard, sir. Chicago, too. The alien drop ships are landing troops in populated areas. The Admiral's face hardened. Activate the city defense protocols. In cities across the world, hidden, defense systems came to life. Weapons emerged from ordinary-looking buildings, from subway stations, from park landscapes. Civilians who had been secretly trained as militia fighters took up positions. The Krivak ground troops were shocked to meet such fierce resistance. They had expected easy victories against what they thought were primitive humans. The humans fight well for primitives, a Krivak commander reported to Vextra. They seem prepared for our arrival. Impossible, Vextra hissed. Crush them with superior numbers. Send in more dropships. More alien vessels descended through Earth's atmosphere, many taking hits from the planet's defenses but pushing through by sheer numbers. In orbit, the battle raged. Major Bennett led his fighters in lightning-fast attacks against the larger Krivak ships. Target their engines when the shields pulse, he ordered his squadron. 3, 2, 1, fire. 20 human fighters fired simultaneously. A massive Krivak cruiser erupted in flames, but for every alien ship destroyed, another took its place. The Krivak fleet seemed endless. We can't keep this up forever, Bennett told Earth Command. We're taking heavy losses. On the ground, cities burned as Krivak dropships landed troops. In what remained of downtown Los Angeles, a group of human defenders fought from the ruins of a skyscraper. Hold the line, shouted their commander, a former police officer named Steve Garcia. Reinforcements are coming. A Krivak war machine stomped down the street, its weapons cutting through concrete and steel. Garcia's team fired Rodriguez's special weapons, timing their shots to the alien shield pulses. The war machine exploded, crushing several Krivak soldiers beneath it. But more aliens came. Always more. In orbit, Paul Cooper's converted civilian ships revealed their final surprise. What the Krivak thought were damaged human vessels fleeing. The battle suddenly turned and accelerated toward the alien fleet. "All kamikaze units," Cooper said, his voice heavy. "You have permission to proceed. Your sacrifice will not be forgotten." The converted ships, piloted by volunteer crews, slammed into the largest Krivak vessels. The resulting explosions tore huge holes in the alien fleet. Vextra watched in horror as his ships were destroyed one after another by the suicide attacks. These humans, they willingly died to defeat us. His second-in-command nodded slowly. They fight with unexpected ferocity. Perhaps we underestimated them. No. Vextra slammed his fist down. I will not be defeated by primitives. Launch the planet-killer missiles. If we cannot have this world, no one will. On Earth, Admiral Miller received the alarming news from Martinez's reconnaissance team. Sir, they're arming weapons of tremendous power. Our sensors indicate they could destroy large portions of the planet's surface. Miller turned to Rodriguez. Tell me you have something that can stop this. The scientist nodded. The improved weapon is ready, but someone will need to get it close to their command ship. Very close. How close? Within their shield perimeter. It would be a one-way mission. Miller closed his eyes briefly. We need volunteers. Lieutenant Carol Hughes stepped forward. My team will do it, sir. We've studied their shield patterns more than anyone else. The Admiral looked at the young officer. You understand what this means? Hughes nodded. We all do, sir. We're ready. As the Krivak prepared to launch their planet-killer missiles, the battle reached its critical point. Both sides had taken heavy losses. Parts of Earth lay in ruins, but the planet's defenders fought on. This is humanity's darkest hour, President Lewis told her advisors in their underground bunker, and yet I have never been prouder of our species. Alan Rodriguez worked frantically in his laboratory. The improved weapon was ready, but he needed to give final instructions to Lieutenant Hughes and her team. The timing has to be perfect, he explained, pointing to a diagram. This version creates a cascading effect. It won't just hit one ship when their shields pulse. It will create a chain reaction throughout their fleet. Hughes nodded, her face serious. How close do we need to get? Inside the command ship's outer shield perimeter, about half a mile from its hull. The lieutenant took a deep breath. That's practically suicide. Yes, Rodriguez said quietly. I'm sorry. Hughes straightened her shoulders. Don't be. We knew the risks when we signed up. She looked at the weapon, a small device that seemed too simple to save the world. Will it stop their planet-killer missiles? If you can get it close enough to their command ship, yes. The chain reaction should disable their entire fleet's weapon systems. In the main command center, Commander Wright organized a diversionary attack to give Hughes a chance to reach the Krivak command ship. All remaining fighter squadrons will engage here and here, she said, pointing to the tactical display. Major Bennett will lead the main attack on their left flank. That should draw their fire away from Hughes' approach vector. Admiral Miller studied the plan. It's risky. We're committing our last reserve forces. If those planet-killer missiles launch, nothing else will matter, Wright replied. Miller nodded grimly. Then we have no choice. Approve the mission. Lieutenant. Hughes and her small team prepared their fighters. Only 5 ships remained in her squadron, each piloted by a volunteer who understood they might not return. Check your shield pulse timers one last time, Hughes ordered. Remember, we need to time our approach with their shield fluctuations. In her cockpit, she placed a small photo of her family on the dashboard, a final reminder of what they were fighting for. On the Krivak command ship, Vextra watched as the planet-killer missiles were prepared for launch. Targeting systems locked on major population centers, his weapons officer reported. ready to fire on your command. Vextra's 4 eyes gleamed with cruel satisfaction. The humans fought well, but in the end, they are no match for the Krivak Dominion. Begin launch sequence. Sir, his sensor officer called out. Multiple human fighters approaching from Sector 7. Destroy them. Vextra ordered dismissively. What the Krivak commander didn't know was that the approaching fighters were Major Bennett's diversionary force. Lieutenant Hughes and her team were approaching from the opposite direction, using the battle as cover. Stay in formation, Bennett told his pilots. We need to keep their attention for as long as possible. His fighters engaged the Krivak defense ships, drawing heavy fire. Many human pilots died in those first minutes, sacrificing themselves to maintain the distraction. On the other side of the massive alien fleet, Hughes's team approached silently. Stealth systems at maximum, she whispered, though no one could hear her in space. Shield pulse timer counting down. Her small ship slipped between larger Krivak vessels, undetected as they focused on Bennett's attack. Ahead loomed the command ship, a mountain of alien metal and weapons. We're approaching the outer shield perimeter, reported one of Hughes's pilots. Shield pulse in 30 seconds. Hughes tightened her grip on the controls. All ships, prepare to accelerate on my mark. The moment the Krivak shields began their 3.8-second pulse, Hughes gave the command. Now! All 5 human fighters shot forward at maximum speed, passing through the momentarily weakened shield. They were now inside the perimeter of the command ship. Vulnerable but positioned to deliver the weapon. We're in, Hughes reported to Earth Command. Preparing to deploy the device. Admiral Miller's voice came through her communicator. Good work, Lieutenant. The fate of Earth is in your hands now. Hughes armed Rodriguez's weapon. The small device began to hum as it powered up. Sir, 5 human vessels have breached our inner perimeter, a Krivak officer shouted to Vextra. The commander spun around. Impossible. Destroy them immediately. Too late, the Krivak realized the true threat. Hughes' ship accelerated directly toward the command vessel's main power core, the weapon ready to deploy. Admiral Miller watched the tactical display as the Krivak fleet drifted powerless in Earth orbit. Rodriguez's weapon had exceeded all expectations. Not only had it stopped the planet-killer missiles, but it had also disabled nearly every alien ship. Status report on Lieutenant Hughes? Miller asked. Commander Wright checked the incoming signals. Her fighter was damaged, but she's alive. Rescue teams are on the way. The Admiral nodded, relief clear on his tired face. And the rest of her team? 2 confirmed survivors. The other 2 ships were destroyed. Miller looked back at the display. The Krivak fleet is dead in space. It's time to go on the offensive. Prepare boarding parties. In the White House bunker, President Lewis received the news of humanity's sudden turn of fortune. Are you sure we should board their vessels? She asked Miller over the secure video link. They're still dangerous. This is our chance to learn about their technology, Madam President, and to capture their leadership. After a moment's thought, she nodded. Proceed, Admiral. But with caution. Miller turned to his officers. I want our best teams for this operation. Captain Martinez will lead the assault on the command ship. Martinez, who had just returned from his long reconnaissance mission, stood ready. His face showed exhaustion, but his eyes were alert. My team is prepared, sir. We've studied Krivak ship layouts during our mission. Your primary objective is to capture Vextra alive, Miller told him. We need answers about why they attacked us and whether there are more Krivak forces out there. Across Earth orbit, human forces prepared to board the disabled alien vessels. Soldiers in spacesuits with special weapons designed by Rodriguez checked their equipment. They would be the first humans to set foot on alien ships. On the Krivak command ship, chaos reigned. Emergency lights cast an eerie purple glow over the bridge. Vextra shouted at his officers as they frantically tried to restore power. How is this possible? He demanded. How could primitives defeat our technology? His science officer looked up from a portable scanner. They targeted the exact frequency of our shield pulses. Then they created a cascade failure throughout our entire network. It was brilliant. Vextra slammed his fist down. We cannot be defeated. Restore weapons and engines immediately. Impossible, Commander, the science officer replied. All systems are linked to the main power grid. The human's weapon has corrupted our entire network. It will take days to rebuild the core programming. Before Vextra could respond, alarm sounded. Human ships approaching, shouted his sensor. Officer. They appeared to be boarding craft. Captain Martinez led the first team to dock with the Krivak command ship. His soldiers moved carefully through the alien vessel, weapons ready. Remember your training, Martinez told them over the comm system. Stick to the plan. We're here to capture, not kill. The humans encountered little resistance. Most Krivak were occupied with trying to restore their systems. Those who did fight were quickly subdued by the special stun weapons Rodriguez had developed. Martinez followed the ship schematics that his reconnaissance team had mapped. The bridge should be through this corridor, he told his team. When they reached the command center, Vextra and his officers stood waiting. The Krivak commander was tall, nearly 7 feet, with gray skin and 4 yellow eyes. He looked down at the humans with contempt. You think you've won? Vextra hissed. This is just one fleet. The Krivak dominion spans hundreds of worlds. When they learn of this, they will send thousands more ships. Your little planet will be dust. Martinez kept his weapon aimed at the alien. You had your chance to leave in peace. You chose war instead. As Martinez's team secured the Krivak leaders, other human forces made a shocking discovery. On the lower decks of each alien vessel, they found prison cells. Inside were beings from dozens of different species, all captives of the Krivak. Admiral, Martinez reported, we've found prisoners. Aliens, but not Krivak. They appear to be slaves or captives. Miller's voice came through his comm. Can you communicate with them? Some of them seem to understand our translation devices. They're saying the Krivak have conquered many worlds, enslaved entire civilizations. The Admiral was silent for a moment. Bring some of their representatives to Earth. We need to talk to them. As Martinez's team led Vextra to their ship, the Krivak commander remained defiant. You think the other species will help you? They are weak. That's why we conquered them. One of the alien prisoners, a tall, blue-skinned being with 4 arms, approached Martinez. Using the translation device, he spoke. For centuries, the Krivak have terrorized our worlds. No one has ever defeated them before. Martinez nodded. They made a mistake. They threatened our home. While the boarding operations continued, Admiral Miller received coordinates from Captain Martinez's team. Sir, we've found data in their navigation systems. Coordinates for what appears to be their staging area. There's another fleet waiting there. Miller's expression hardened. Then that's where we go next. Prepare a battle group. We're taking the fight to them. In orbit above Earth, the once mighty Krivak invasion fleet now floated powerless. Hundreds of alien ships defeated by a planet they had thought would be an easy conquest. President Lewis addressed the world's population from the White House lawn, now that it was safe to emerge. Today, humanity faced its greatest challenge and prevailed, but our work is not done. We have learned that the Krivak have enslaved many species across the stars. Now we must decide our next steps carefully. 3 weeks after the Battle of Earth, Admiral Miller stood on the bridge of the UES Defender, humanity's newest and most powerful warship. Built using a combination of human and captured Krivak technology, it led a fleet of 50 vessels toward the coordinates of the Krivak staging area. All ships report ready, Admiral, Commander Wright said from her station. Miller nodded. Then, let's proceed. Jump when ready. The human fleet activated their new jump drives, technology learned from studying the Krivak ships. In a flash of light, they vanished from Earth's solar system and reappeared near a massive space station orbiting a red giant star. Sensors show over 300 Krivak vessels docked at the station, reported the tactical officer. It appears to be their second invasion wave, as we suspected. Miller studied the tactical display. Are they detecting us? Not yet, sir. Our stealth systems are holding. The Admiral turned to Captain Martinez, who stood beside him. What do the freed aliens suggest as our approach? Martinez consulted a datapad. The Zentari ambassador believes a direct ultimatum would be most effective. The Krivak respect strength above all else. Miller considered this advice. The Zentari were the blue-skinned, four-armed beings who had been enslaved by the Krivak for centuries. They had provided valuable insight into their former captors. "Open a channel to the station," Miller ordered. "Let's see if they've learned their lesson." On the main screen, a Krivak officer appeared, his four eyes widening in shock at seeing humans. "How did you find this location?" he demanded. Admiral Miller stood tall. "We are representatives of Earth and the newly formed Alliance of Free Worlds. Your invasion fleet attacked our planet after being warned to withdraw. It was completely defeated." He gestured to Commander Vextra, who stood under guard at the back of the bridge. "Your commander is our prisoner. The ships you sent will never return." The Krivak officer seemed stunned. "Impossible. No species has ever defeated a Krivak invasion force." "We have," Miller stated simply, "and we have liberated the species you enslaved. They now stand with us." The Admiral's expression hardened. "We have one message for the Krivak Dominion. Withdraw your forces from all conquered worlds immediately. This is your only warning." The Krivak officer laughed nervously. "You think you can threaten the Dominion? This station alone has more ships than your entire planet could produce." Miller nodded to his weapons officer. "Perhaps a demonstration is needed." The defender fired a single missile toward an uninhabited moon orbiting nearby. The weapon, designed by Alan Rodriguez using his understanding of Krivak technology, struck the surface. In seconds, the entire moon shattered into fragments. Silence fell on the Krivak station. The officer stared in disbelief. "That was one missile, from one ship," Miller said calmly. "We have 50 ships, each carrying 20 such missiles. And that's just the fleet we brought with us. Back home, we're building more." He leaned forward. "The choice is yours. Peace or extinction. Unlike you, we prefer peace." For several long moments, no one spoke. Then, the Krivak officer bowed his head slightly. "I will transmit your message to the Dominion Council." 3 days later, representatives from the Krivak Dominion arrived to negotiate. They had never faced a species that could defeat them, let alone one that showed mercy afterward. The terms were simple: release all enslaved worlds, withdraw to Krivak home territories, and join the new galactic community as equals, not conquerors. 6 months after the attempted invasion of Earth, President Lewis addressed the first gathering of the Alliance of Free Worlds. Representatives from 27 formerly enslaved species sat alongside human delegates. "From a terrible threat came an unexpected opportunity," Lewis said. "Humanity has found its place among the stars not as conquerors, but as liberators and allies." In the audience, Lieutenant Carol Hughes sat next to Alan Rodriguez. Both wore meta,